my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel. So this is the last harvest day of spring for us, and so I thought I would just do a quick roundup of the finances for winter and spring, and I will also show you what we harvested today. But I'll just talk a little bit about the fact that, you know, a lot of people don't think it's worthwhile to harvest over winter and in spring. They really focus on preparing the ground over winter and then planting in spring in order to have an abundant June. We try and get the balance right, so we do a lot of harvesting all the way through winter. We do an enormous amount actually through spring, and we're constantly kind of trying to make the judgment call as to whether do we leave this bed in to harvest or do we replant it in order to get more stuff in June. And sometimes we get it perfect and sometimes we get it badly wrong. And I think this time we've erred slightly on the side of an abundant spring rather than an abundant June. And we are going to have a kind of dip in harvests in the next 2 weeks probably. But it's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. So in summary, and I'll put the exact figures up on the screen, I think we've harvested about £4,000 worth of veg in winter and spring. And, you know, I think that's a really worthwhile harvest. I mean, it's incredibly worthwhile for us because we're self-sufficient in veg, so we'd go pretty hungry if we didn't do that. But it's also just, you know, it's a really nice way to keep me active and Debbie active in winter. It gets us out the house. It's really enjoyable. It means we're constantly kind of, you know, on top of the plots, doing a little bit of weeding here and there, reconditioning beds as we go. It does. The downside is though that it means that we never have a kind of blank slate in late winter to start planting, and that's a real shame in many ways, you know, because it would be really nice to be able to sort of start your planning with all your allotment just nicely prepared beds, and everything starts from scratch, you know, a blank slate every year. For us, everything's always full. Every bed is always full, pretty much all the time, and we only empty them just for the period of transition. So sometimes that's a day, sometimes it's a week. Very rarely it's kind of 2 weeks. But you know, it does mean that you know there's no stop to it. You know, you're always doing something. But that does mean that the workload is spread through the year. So we like that as well, that £4,000, because obviously it pays for everything. It pays for all of our food that we have to buy for the rest of the year. It pays for all of our allotment costs. It's really nice. And of course, we also, you know, it's worthwhile remembering that, of course, we don't eat £4,000 worth of veg because we also feed our local family. So that's the value, effectively, of the harvest. Rather than any kind of money that we make from selling it or anything like that. So yeah, I'm going to get on with the harvest now, and I'll come back later and I'll show you what we've got. So these are the back garden potatoes. Some of these are almost ready now, which is good because we've only got 1 tub of potatoes left now on the allotment. Those are the polytunnel ones that have been in the polytunnel. And I think the one at that end and the one at this end are effectively ready now. You know, they flowered a few weeks ago, and so we'll be picking those week after next. The salad beds at home are looking really lovely, and these spring onions are ready now. So these are the ones we're harvesting for salad mixes. The ones on the allotment we're harvesting for cooking. I think most people are running out of onions now. We've pretty much run out of our stored onions. So we're starting to pick our overwintered ones. These are the lettuces we harvested last week. These are the ones we're harvesting this week. This is red kitten kale. We really love this stuff, but obviously it's just about going to seed now. We've got 1 more bed of spinach and then we switch over to New Zealand spinach. These are the sprouts, which we grow for leaves. They're looking pretty good, a little bit battered by the wind. Not too bad. More lettuce beds. This is the one we're harvesting this week. This is the one we harvested last week. Also a little bit battered by the wind. Final lettuce bed. A few more brassicas, lots of radish there as well. These are the peas that were growing for shoots, getting a bit big now. Most of these shoots now are just going into smoothie mixes, really great in there. Next lettuce bed coming along nicely. So this is 2 or 3 weeks away really, because these are hearting lettuces. A few dwarf peas that we're harvesting for pods. Mulched peas coming along nicely. We've got loads of mulched peas ready for harvest now on the allotment. This is lamb's lettuce. It's obviously going to seed now, harvesting that into the smoothie mixes. These are spring onions ready for harvest. These are the beetroot. We've got stacks of beetroot in store though, still in really good condition. So we won't need this for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and it'll definitely be ready by then. And this is the green garlic. We've pretty much run out of garlic in the store now, so really we're just using green garlic for everything. And I've got to say, it's pretty delicious. If you've not used green garlic or grown it before, it's definitely worth growing. Just take all your tiny little cloves, the ones that you don't think are worth planting for mature garlic, plant them really close together and harvest now. It's fantastic. This is one of the many kale beds at home. It's looking really nice. We've got a lot of this perennial kale on the allotment, and so we've been harvesting that. We'll take all these lower leaves off that are on branches that are about to fall off. And this is, you know, we get lots of cuttings as well when we do that. So if anybody's watching this who's got an allotment at Shepherd Road Allotments, you just contact me, put a comment in the on this video, and I'll get you a cutting. And some more perennial kales at the back there, growing pretty nicely. So I'll be harvesting this, and this is spinach. We'll probably take a little bit of this week, but hopefully this will supply us for 1 or 2 weeks. The back garden runner beans coming on really nicely. Very happy with these. But we've got some that are much further on than this in the polytunnel, so those are the ones we'll be eating first. This is the front garden kale bed. Again, a bit battered by the wind. We've had some really bad wind. And these are the containers that we picked so far. So we convert our dining room into a harvest room. These are all the boxes ready for packing, and salad boxes ready for packing. So these are the spring onions that we've overwintered. So these are a bit tough and strong now for salads, but they're fantastic for cooking. These are the spring onions for the salads. These are actually the first of the onions that we've harvested overwintered. These are tough ball. And these are the ones I struggle with the most, carrots. It's getting a good abundant supply of carrots at this time of year. Obviously these are nice little baby carrots, but it's always difficult because carrots really want to go to seed at this time of year. So maybe 20% of our carrots are in fact running to seed. So people are always asking me what's in the smoothie mixes, different at each time of year. In this case, red rhubarb kale, flowers off the spinach, sprout leaves, amazing, bean tops, pea shoots, beetroot leaves, what are those, radish tops, corn salad tops and flowers, and spring onion tops. So 9 different types of leaves, pretty good. Up are the field bean tips, that's the bit we pick. And I got to say, probably these are one of the most popular things that we grow. People absolutely love them. They're a bit like broad bean tips. Absolutely fantastic. We've got loads more in there. So that's the field beans done. And the smoothie mixes. And I'll just say about the field beans, you can also pick the flowers. They're edible as well. And there's some there, look. And next week we'll finish the field beans and we switch to the broad bean tops. And speaking of broad beans, we'll just pick some of those. Just the first few really small broad beans and some lovely asparagus. So next up's the chard. We really like chard, but we are coming to the end of this. This is maybe there's one more harvest before we take it up. Got quite a bit there. So that's the chard. I'll just say everything we wash and spin before we put it in these boxes, and we're just leaving it out here now just to dry off a little bit before we put the lids on. So we want it packed moist but not wet, if you get me. Next we're on to the brassica leaves. So we like sprout leaves. They're kind of amazing, and they're one of the first sprout leaves to come available in the new season. And Calabrese leaves, these are fantastic, absolutely gorgeous, big tender leaves. And we really like those. And then this is red Russian kale, and a curly kale, I think this is reflex. And then a couple of the Tuscan kales. So that's Black Magic and Dazzling Blue. And then the Taunton Dean perennial kale. And that's a mainstay of the brassica leaves in spring. And so that's a nice selection, and we put a mix of all of these brassica leaves in each box. So that's the brassica leaves. And what we're always aiming for here is, 3 or 4 different types, sometimes more. Really nice, nutritious meal, really. So every month we aim for a different type of Calabrese flower. And this month, these are the Calabrese main heads, and these are the side shoots. And next month it'll be the Romanesco cauliflowers, but we're a bit behind on those, so it'll be towards the end of the month, and we'll actually have a gap of Calabrese flowers. Last month it was cauliflowers, and then in July and August it'll be cauliflowers and summer purple sprouting broccoli, and on it goes. I like to cut the size of those big heads down and get loads and loads of side shoots. Just people can't eat those massive heads in one go. So we dole out the flowers, the brassica flowers, and we don't have enough carrots and potatoes for everybody, so not at this time of year, so we just do these little selection boxes just for a few people, lucky people. Same with the broad beans, until next week probably, when we'll have plenty of those. But, it's a nice selection there for people. And then we've got the first of the new season celery, and that's looking pretty nice actually. I'm really pleased with that. Of course, there's lots of things at this time of year when you're only getting little amounts of them, and so they're an extra special treat. So now we're on to the spinach, and this is the last of the red kitten spinach. We won't plant any more this year until August. It just goes to seed too quickly, and there's the rest of it ready to be boxed. So this is the cooking table finished. We've just put a bit of celery in these and some green garlic and the onions. Here's the spinach, and there's more spinach here, and the cooking spring onions, and we've double decked the chard and the smoothie mixes. So that's quite a nice selection. So then it's the same story with the salads. I've got this green oak leaf from Premier Seeds, Grenoble Red mature leaves, Grenoble Red tender hearts, Tessie with a green fly on it, Cantarix, Navara French breakfast radishes, spring onions. These are white Lisbon, I think, but we've probably got some stir on as well, and baby cucumbers. So it's a bit of a feeble salad mix, but that's all we've got at this time of year. And here's some of the salad mixes. We have some in bags as well, they're all packed. So it's pretty good. These are ours at the end here. We've added tomatoes and cheese. So, hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Allotment channel. I'll see you soon.